Our speaker today is Zabina Gundavali, founder and CEO of Emagia. Before we get started, I just wanted to go through a few things. Our participants will be muted during this call, but please feel free to use your video. We'd love to see you. The webinar will last right around 60 minutes, and we will have a question and answer period at the end. For that, we will be using the chat feature located at the bottom of your screen. When using that chat box, please refrain from using company or customer names in your questions or comments. With that, let's get started, Vina.
Thank you, Beth. Good morning, everyone, and all the audience that joined us this morning. It's a wonderful morning, and we have a great topic here today, global order to cash, how digital transformation changes 3Ws. Work, workforce, and working capital cycle. It's a loaded topic, and I know we have about 1 hour here, and I'll try to cover as much as I am able to in the next 1 hour and inspire you with stories of transformation and what lies ahead of us. So with that, let me just get started with my introduction. I'm Veena Gundavelli. I'm founder and CEO of Emagia. Emagia is a leading provider of order-to-cash automation solutions. I am also an innovator. Over the last 20 years, spend my time and passion on bringing new technologies to the finance side of the world, and especially to the order-to-cash side of the world. And I am also a contributor to Forbes Technology Council, and have been awarded as Innovator of the Year, by the Women Entrepreneur organization, as well as several other organizations. So with that, let me dive into introduction about who we are, what we do. Emagia, we are a company that's focused on order-to-cash automation, and over the last decade, we have delivered order-to-cash solutions to a number of different large global companies in a number of different industries. Our solutions today are deployed in over 70 different countries, in over 25 different languages, having over 50,000 users. Process several millions of transactions and several billions of receivables and payments around the world. And we work with a whole host of partners and a whole host of data contributors to the system. So we bring this years of knowledge and years of experience, hopefully to bring you the perspective, for the future. Our latest platform, Emagia's next generation AI-driven order-to-cash platform, brings together automation, analytics, and AI all together into one singular platform to take companies to a new generation of order-to-cash. So with that, let me dive right into what we are here for, right? If you look at what's happening today and in the order-to-cash world, I want to bring the story of Wizard of Oz. I don't think we are in Kansas anymore, Toto. This is what we are all seeing today. And I want to bring you back, to that 1939 movie, where Dorothy, started out with the cyclone took away her whole house, and it's out, from, nice, cozy Kansas, out somewhere. And this entire journey of Dorothy, happens, finding, various different aspects. It's a transformation journey, on this journey of, going and, finding the, the ultimate power. She's joined with this, friends or people who are looking for, some elements, right? Joined by, the Tin Man, joined by the lion, joined by the scarecrow. It's all about, finding brain, courage, um, and um, and heart, and putting that all together to find something after a big journey, realizing that the power is within her to transform, right? So I want to relate that over to what's happening in the order to cash side of the world. We are all in this, huge cyclone and this huge tornado of digital transformation happening all around us. Order to cash process, starting out from, bringing on a new customer, evaluating a credit, looking at sales orders, credit holds, credit releases, invoicing, collections, disputes, deductions management, cash applications, that entire payments, all of this journey, this particular process, we are ourselves experiencing a whole lot of, digital disruption, happening within this particular process. At the same time, we are also right in the middle of the front office, which is going through a huge transformation. We're all buying online as consumers, everything is happening online. And every business is trying to figure out how do they disrupt the front office and take everything online. Similarly, the back office, the supply chain, the banking side of the business, there's a huge transformation happening, in that side of the world. Banks are getting disrupted, payments are getting disrupted. We're all going into a cashless, society. There's a lot happening on the other side of the order to cash, on the cash side of the world. So this entire order to cash cycle, right between the front office and right between the, the cash and the payment side, is subject to tremendous transformation right now. And with the current COVID pandemic, this is like a catalyst. This is like an accelerator. This is like a, oh my God, this is a reality check. How are we going to take ourselves forward? And that's, where we are all sitting here right now. And if you look at the experts like Gartner defines digital disruption as an effect that changes the fundamental expectations and behaviors in a culture, market, industry, or process that is caused by or expressed through digital capabilities, channels, or assets. What does this mean? Fundamentally, we have to change the way we operate. Today, most of us, we wake up, we pick up our phone and we ask, hey Siri, what's the news today? What is the weather like? We're able to get all of that answers. Guess what? Are you able to ask the answer? How many payments came in yesterday? What is my order to cash situation? Are you able to ask that questions? Today, in most organizations, and let's look at Dorothy, today's order to cash global process owner. What does she have to deal with? You have multiple systems all over the place. Cannot get visibility into what's happening on order to cash performance. Still a lot of manual processes all around. It's constant pressure of cut down the cost, standardize the process, make it more efficient, all of that, right? And look at the credit management. In many companies, still companies are operating with a PDF document. And guess what? Even today, most of us, sitting out here managing, order to cash of these large billion-dollar companies, a PDF document floats around. Submit that, to the future customer. Somebody has to send it over, and somebody has to sit down and analyze. Hey, is this information correct? Pull out a D&B report or an Expedient report. Put an Excel spreadsheet and calculate all of these scoring. It's still happening today. And similarly with cash application, you're still receiving remittance advisors in emails. You're still receiving, check images, from the logbox. There are people sitting there and doing data entry. Likewise, collections. There's still today, even in billion-dollar companies, many of us are pulling the Excel spreadsheet trying to prioritize. Same with dispute management. It's all over the place. We are constantly chasing somebody, hey, can you look at this particular claim? Can you approve this? It's sitting out there since 10 days. And all of this is still happening. And today, you're sitting at home streaming Netflix on your smartphone. You're streaming, YouTube on the smartphone. Yet you cannot stream credit application. You cannot stream information from your ERP systems, and you cannot get real-time information. And that is not the state that we should be in. And we got to question this status quo and figure out, how do we move away? Just like how personally we all moved away from the analog phone to simply went and bought an iPhone, simply went bought an Android phone and switched over to smart systems, right? Smartphones. We got to question ourselves, if we're still looking at current system, with Excel spreadsheets, we got to go get a smartphone for our order to cash process. And let's walk through, what does this mean for all of us? IDC recently did a big survey on, what is the pulse of order to cash, especially on, the large companies. When they did this survey, 59%, close to 60% of the, of the CFOs, said accounts receivable is a top priority. They want to switch this over into new digital process and see how they can get this into a faster and a better place. And this is where all of us looking at this particular process, need to look at, there is a huge momentum already happening. Our house is already out, lifted out from Kansas. It's out in the tornado. Our house is already gone there. And now how do we figure out, where do we find this transformation, and how do we go about this journey and get ourselves, to the right place? Finance is going through a huge transformation. Deloitte, this is a beautiful piece. I'd absolutely encourage all of you to go to the Deloitte website and look at, some of these predictions. By 2025, there's a whole lot of changes, that we are looking at. And especially, with the COVID kicking in, probably this will be much sooner than 2025. The whole finance factory, the accounts receivable, accounts payable, record to report, all of that is changing from these, siloed operations to almost like digital services. The role of finance, role of order to cash is changing. The finance cycles are getting real time. Customers are going in for a self-service. Operating models, of whole companies are changing. ERP systems, are, becoming more as a record keepers, but the operations are getting liberated, democratized by, digital systems. Data is now being available in a very ubiquitous manner. We are able to pull information from the banks. We're able to pull information from the credit bureaus, able to pull information, from your ERP systems and payment systems. There's a whole lot of, information sharing that's happening with the proliferation of APIs, and the tremendous opportunity to bring that all together. That's, again, you're seeing a whole effect of how smartphone suddenly liberated a whole lot of applications and a whole lot of power right at your fingertips. And we're seeing that transformation where order to cash, can go in a whole new direction. And what that means is workforce and workplace are getting new meanings in this new normal. And we'll talk about, a lot more details about, what that means for work and workforce. So to look at a few things here, just from a Hackett Group, Hackett Group statistics, a world-class digitally transformed company is able to realize close to 60% of efficiency gain, cost reduction compared to their peers. There's a huge advantage of going digital and huge advantage of applying digital in the order to cash side of the world. And if you look at from a not just from a cost and efficiency perspective, the power of digital comes as an exponential power. If you look at most companies, they start out initially with digital, as an accelerator, but the power they realize, just like in smartphone, you are able to do, your simple phone calls, which your, touch phone, already was able to do. But at the same time, suddenly now it liberated so many different apps, and the data is liberated, and you're now able to do a lot more things with your smartphone. Similarly, the order to cash process and the order to cash systems and order to cash, data has power to unleash enormous amount of information to your organization, which can result in enormous performance improvements, as well as new business models, for your company. So with that, let's first look at what does that mean for, today's AR managers or today's credit managers. What that means is a shift in mindset, a shift to intelligent mindset. And this is a report, put out by IDC, who's done, again, tremendous amount of research on, accounts receivable side of the business. What they talk about is shifting of the mindset means moving away from everyday, day-to-day administrative activities that are typically, the everyday, that consumes the day of of an accounts receivable or a treasury department today. Moving away from that, moving towards very strategic, higher focused, insights driven, and managing the overall process. So there's a big focus from moving away from functional and, moving away from administrative to a very strategic approach. Everyday activities are now getting automated, and more the systems are becoming very connected, where we are able to bring in all of that information. And instead of being a very reactive, trying to figure out, oh, this customer did not pay, what do we do right now, and how do we, handle this? Systems are now going to be helping you to figure out how to become more proactive and predictive. And this is where there's a huge shift in mindset that we all need to, make in our own lives. So this is where, when we were switching from, a touch phone to a smartphone, that's a personal journey, and we all very quickly made that particular journey. Whereas when it comes to the organizations, it is very hard, because there's a lot of, mindset about giving away control, processes, how do we change? How do we, get this entire shared services or entire business processes moved? And this is where a lot of new mindset needs to come in terms of democratizing, the data, giving ability for the process, to be able to manage by multiple people. And this is what the systems, will help you do that. And again, there's a lot of information around this. I'd absolutely encourage you to look into what is this mindset, because it's not about the technology. It is about the mindset. Technology is just an enabler. The mindset is what that is needed to actually drive the order to cash departments to the next level. So as part of the mindset, it is also very important to understand, being digitally savvy is one of the core characteristics of digital transformation. And it's important, as digital order to cash leaders, for us to at least understand what are some technologies that are affecting, these processes, and you see these, terms in your everyday process, and to be able to understand, which technology can help you. And I've actually put down about 10 different technologies that you will probably, come across in every day as you, move on your digital transformation journey. Cloud. Now, cloud, as you are already seeing, everything is going to cloud. And what this means for order to cash leaders is the new order to cash platforms are all available in cloud. That means it shifts responsibility from IT to you to pick which are, the service providers that you want to use, who are the systems that you want to use. So there's a tremendous responsibility of ownership that you as a leader need to develop and make those choices. Everything is going mobile. Your credit applications to credit information to ability to say, hey Siri, what is the cash position today? Everything is happening on mobile, and that's something that you got to keep yourself abreast of. What are some of the changes with 5G happening, with so much streaming that is happening? This enormous ability right at your phone that you're able to get. Digitalization, less documents and less data entry. Your documents, you can easily scan those documents. You can digitize that and take this forward. We'll talk about robotic process automation in a little more detail, but all that data gathering is all happening on that. So likewise, again, I don't want to go through each one of these, but I do want to put it out there. These 10 technologies, robotic process automation, machine learning, artificial intelligence, digital assistants, intelligent data capture, payments, digital payments, blockchain. This is a fascinating technology on blockchain. We'll talk about it a little later, but it's all bringing together, a distributed ledger to share information and, exchange information in a very seamless manner. And then finally with APIs. So, these are some technologies that are out there, for you to understand. And this is going to, on an everyday basis, these technologies, you will experience in some shape or form within your order to cash cycle. In today's presentation, obviously we have, just about an hour. So I will be talking a little bit about, three primary technologies here. One is RPA. I'm trying to cover primarily the automation, analytics, and AI assistants. These are the two brief introductions, and then we'll dive more into the main topic. So RPA, or automation, today in most order to cash organizations, we are spending a lot of time going and gathering information, right? Today, downloading information from vendor portals, for example. Or if I want to do a tax exempt verification or a license verification, I got to go to some government portal and then bring that all information from some place on the internet and out into our everyday system. If I have to post an invoice, or if I have to get a deductions or remittance information, all of that information where we are sitting and going to some portals and bringing that. Today, RPA has tremendous capabilities to simply go mimic your your mouse cursor actions and do exactly what you are able to do online, and record that and then repeat that over and over again. So any activity that is repetitive and that is that is almost like a data entry, or bringing in data from one system or to the other. So this is what the RPA is today able to do. And this is a technology that, again, it becomes very important, when we are looking at, automating, some of the aspects of the order to cash. So again, you can bring in automation at different levels. That's a brief introduction that I want to give you on RPA. Next, getting into machine learning and data analytics. When you have information, when you have lots of data, you have data in your financial systems, you have data coming in from, all of these different documents, etc. Today's systems, data management capability is one of the one of the key advantage that you're seeing in today's next generation order to cash systems. With data, what happens is you're able to now put together information and find patterns in the information. Machine learning, gives the ability to very quickly find out the patterns. I want to give a quick analogy. Today, when you're typing on smartphone, it will automatically, help you with the spelling corrections or grammar corrections. Think of it, that is a very good application of machine learning. Imagine the same thing happening, right here with your data. It's looking at your information and giving you, analysis of which customer is paying slow, which customer is paying, in good, within the terms. Which customer is most likely to dispute, which invoice most likely will go through a dispute. All of that information, these machine learning technology is able to mine and bring that to you. And this is where, as a consumer, as a order to cash consumer, you can use the power of these technologies to set up collection strategies, to set up, your credit strategies, and all of the, credit portfolio management, all of that in a good order. So there's a tremendous power to machine learning capabilities. Cognitive engagement. AI assistants, these are going to be the next new team members, for you. Just like how you have Siri and Google Assistant in your everyday life, you are now going to have, Gia and other digital assistants in your, order to cash world to simply ask a question, do the queries, for example, hey, Gia, give me the information, what's happening with so-and-so customer. You will be able to get the answer. Hey, Gia, send a reminder to so-and-so customer. Hey, Gia, ask John if, this particular claim can be approved today. All of those kind of pieces are being done by digital assistants, and that is going to be the new future. And today you're already seeing on the banking world, for example, Bank of America, the Erica, which is the Bank of America digital assistant. Today, I believe about 4 million users are using that particular digital assistant to check their account balances, to do, transfers, as well as, any sort of, activity on their account. They're able to get the digital assistant right on the mobile and able to, do all the transactions they are able to do right, on that particular phone with Erica. Similarly, in the order to cash side of the world, at the first level, the digital customer experience is a big thing right now. Customers are going to be expecting information in real time. And this is where these digital assistants can give that pieces of information very quickly and very easily. So we'll talk about, different applications of, how you can send digital assistants, to remind the customer, to take real-time payments, for example, or to, capture some dispute information. All of that, right, at your fingertips. Digital assistants can also be used for enterprise-wide collaboration, right? For example, if you were to, ask, your sales department or your customer service department to resolve a particular dispute, you can simply, ask, a digital assistant to, go send this email or record this particular transaction or record in this conversation. All of those you will be able to do with digital assistants. And you're going to see more and more of digital assistants in order to cash. So with that, let me just, share with you, a few stories where companies have already reimagined their credit process, their collections process, and cash application process with these new digital systems. And hopefully this will be a glimpse of, glimpse of future for, many of the order to cash, organizations that are looking to do transformations. So first and foremost, digital credit. I'm going to share with you a story of American Heart Association. This is a large, billion-dollar plus nonprofit company, and they supply some of the CPR equipment as well as some of the training courses. And they had a very manual credit department with a PDF file and a whole processing that would take days and sometimes a couple of weeks to be able to approve a credit application. Today they are on digital credit process, and they have a storefront, an e-commerce storefront called Shop CPR, where all of their customers, again, they're encouraging more and more of their customers to go onto their digital site to buy their products. Right on Shop CPR, they have a digital credit application, where any of their B2B customers are able to, put the information of the credit application, and that credit application today does automatic verification of all the information on the credit application. It's able to capture digital signatures. It's able to do digital reference checks, automatically send an email to the bank with a form for reference check, automatically able to send the emails to trade references. It's able to pull the information from Experian, automatically process the credit scoring, look at the scoring information, and if it is within a particular limit, it is able to automatically approve immediately a set credit limit. And if it is not within that particular limit, it is now taking that piece of information, that credit file, to different people within the organization for approvals and for reviewing and further discussion. So what's happening with that is a process that used to take 2 weeks or so is now almost instantaneous. And that's the power of a digital credit system. So what happens with this is you are able to accept more customers, you are able to accept more business, and you are able to accept more new opportunities. And that's the power of a digital credit system. So this is where I think all of us looking at a digital credit process, these new digital credit systems have the capability to move the company away from administrative process to help the credit department focus on how do we handle the exceptions, how many customers are not falling within the range of credit risk that we want to take, and how do we handle that so they can focus their energies on a very strategic manner. The other is collections. Collections, today in most shared services, you have a lot of different ERP systems in many large companies. There are many people sitting and taking this information, whether it's Excel spreadsheets or some sort of a application to prioritize task lists for today, calls for today, all of that, right? Let me share with you a story of a very large pharmaceutical company that in fact just went live on a new digital credit system. Of course, the Emagia digital collection system went live right in the middle of COVID. Took the digital process, entire digital collections process, rolled this out for 30 different countries. And what's happening here is the collections process has changed from taking these Excel spreadsheets out of information they got from Oracle or SAP systems, and instead of creating all of these Excel spreadsheets, now with the new digital system, the system is automatically monitoring, what's happening with the customer payment behavior, able to predict which customer is paying at a reasonable, which customer is paying in 30 days, which customer is paying in 45 days, which customer is paying in 50, 60 days. Depending on that, it's able to pick up a very personalized strategy, a very personalized reminder. And the first level reminder is going out, with digital assisted, collections or assisted reminder. The customer is able to get a reminder right on their phone with a digital assistant, saying, hey, you have an outstanding balance of, $2,000. And here is, the invoice, for that $2,000. And do you want to take care of this payment right now, or do you want to take care of it later? And if so, what is the date that you want to take care of that? Or do you have a dispute on this particular invoice? How can you, what sort of dispute do you have? All that pieces of interactions are happening right there with the customer as part of that letter, as part of that collections activity or reminder activity is happening with the digital assistant. And today, this company has rolled out these digital assisted letters and reminders for collections across 30 different countries, 15 different languages. Gia, the digital assistant, is able to talk in different languages. And now they bring all that information back to the collector. So that way, once you have the collector's dashboard or the collector's task list, they have all information about why this particular customer is having problems with the payments, why are they delaying, what are their current issues. All of that information is is right at the fingertips of the collector to be able to figure out what do they need to do to internally discuss, collaborate, and help that customer move forward. So that's the new generation of digital collections, where every collector is assisted by a digital assistant to be able to do certain first level of activities, and they can improve their efficiency and improve their collaboration. So this is one very inspiring story, and again that's the reality that's happening. And with this, many of these organizations are able to keep their current AR over 85%. And it's going to be a new norm where AR, the past due, cannot be exceeding, more than maybe 10%, 15%. And again, with the new generation of payments revolution and working capital cycles, which we'll discuss a little later, who knows, this entire, accounts receivable, maybe it has to be 100% current, maybe, there's financing options, maybe there are real-time payment options, where, the technology is pushing the envelope on, this DSO, pushing the envelope on, current AR, past due AR metrics. And that's a very fascinating thing, to, see that there are changes that are happening that are actually pushing the limits of all of these metrics to a whole new different level. Next, let's look at cash application. Cash application, as I mentioned, in today many companies, people are still looking at remittance advisors, coming in emails, different types of bank feeds, or information coming from the bank. They are having a lot of, people simply putting together this information to be able to post into the ERP system, right? I mean, today, as I mentioned, if you're streaming Netflix, if you're streaming a movie on your smartphone, and if you're still going back and, looking at your logbox images and punching in numbers, to do your cash posting, something is going wrong there. And that's not going to stay the way it is, and it's going to change drastically over the future. So this is where, again, technology today, is able to read documents, right? one of the, again, story that I would like to share here is story of Unisys. This is a large, large company, having multiple different, ERP systems, about 120 some different banks, all around the world. And today, all of their information is, coming into the digital system, Emagia digital system. And this system is now able to read the logbox images, the checks and the stubs, the remittance information coming from the email, putting that all together, bringing it to the cash application, trying to see, hey, what are the open invoices and what are the, payments, doing automatic matching, and wherever the fallouts are happening, wherever the matching is not happening. And this is where the teams are looking at, looking at that piece of information to figure out how do we resolve that? How do we, deal with this reconciliation issues? Any short pays, how do we deal with that? Any overpays, how do we deal with that? Any claims, deductions, how do we deal with all of that? So this is where, people are spending a lot of, time and energy to deal with escalations, not with the everyday data gathering and data management, side of the business, right? So again, even in this particular situation, there's a tremendous advantage that they're able to reap with digital systems. They're now able to extend even the payment options in a number of different ways. Maybe, some of these customers, you can extend real, early discounts, or maybe you can extend this, with the other digital payment wallets. There's a whole host of new opportunity that happens. Again, what happens with this is bringing in tremendous efficiency and tremendous, tremendous power to do automation to a large scale. What does this mean, right? What this means is, you're now shifting your focus from administrative data entry type of activities to getting a lot of information right in front of you, in the form of analytics and insights. With analytics and insights, you're now able to see patterns. You're now able to see, what's happening, within your operations, what's happening, within your, customer, what type of customers are you servicing? Maybe you can take some different segments of customers, or maybe you can, steer, or help steer your business to, new dimensions. I mean, new markets, new product lines and other aspects. And there's a whole host of information, that you can derive, from these, data that you gathered with all of these automations. So again, reimagine your order to cash to focus a whole lot on deriving, the insights or understanding the insights. And this is going to be the new normal. And again, as we have mentioned, what this means is, one, driving better performance. And I do want to remind once again, that, according to Hackett, close to 60%, is what the gap is between performance of digitally transformed world-class companies and companies that are still in a very brick and mortar type of order to cash cycle. And there's a huge opportunity for us to kind of switch ourselves into these smart systems and leverage a whole lot of opportunity, that these systems can bring towards us. And again, I think this was a story of Unisys. I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail on this. We've already talked about it, but just to kind of look at the scale of this, right? We're talking about this, it's deployed across 70 different countries, 20 different languages, 130 banks, getting, information, right into, one singular order to cash system, and a whole lot of things. but the key message here is a lot of data gathering and manual activities are now automated, and the company and the order to cash staff and the department is now powered with so much information on their fingertips that they are now able to impact the company in a much better order. That leads to, what does this mean? What does this mean for the staff? I think many of us in the order to cash roles wonder, is this a threat to our jobs? What do we do? How do we navigate this digital storm? What does this mean for us? If we are leaders, what does this mean? Does this take away the command and control? If I'm a staff working on punching in the check information, what does this mean for me, right? So let's look at the what does this mean? What does the future look like? Future of work. Future of work, the day-to-day data gathering, data entry jobs, unfortunately, will get eliminated. Those will be done by digital assistants, digital bots, and that will become a new norm. Transactions will become touchless and intelligent. And what does that mean? That we as people, as staff working in these administrative functions, now have to move up into what we call as knowledge work. And if you look at the graph, right, right there to the right, and the green, bars right there, knowledge work will continue to increase, and that is where we got to focus. The rest of the ones, where it is primarily as I said, administrative, data entry, structured work, repetitive work, that is going to be in the diminishing side of the world. And we have to skill ourselves to get into what we call as knowledge work. What is knowledge work? Knowledge work means, to be able to, again, look at this particular data, ability to, understand, how do you change a collection strategy, with all this power and information with you, ability to understand how do you change your collections strategy, credit scoring, your decision limits, how do you want to change that to create a better impact, for your organizations? How do you want to handle, the escalations that's specific, to your particular process or product lines? All of those things are called knowledge works, right? So more and more what's happening is, there will be a shift from administrative activities to understanding, how to use digitalization, how to use, the power. Just like how, you have already gained the knowledge how to use your smartphone. You're already using smartphone for so many new different things. Now, this is the journey in the order to cash. When you have these smart digital systems, how do you move, yourself from, these data entry activities to, understanding, digital and, moving yourself to the new direction. So this is an important aspect, for us to look at. And from a workforce perspective, Deloitte recently has done, a very good study on, how are jobs going to get transformed. Today we have standard jobs, like a global process owner, we have, credit manager, collections manager, cash application manager, or staff like that. I mean, staff titles like that. All of these are today's standard jobs, and they're all going through this evolution, going to what we call as hybrid jobs, or even, reaching a state what we call as super jobs, what are hybrid jobs and super jobs? Hybrid jobs, super jobs are ability to, go beyond one activity to look at, a holistic process, or, look at a holistic, operations. And, human staff will shift to strategic insights and analysis, will drive operational changes, will handle customer escalations. What does this mean? That the staff, the leaders and the staff, more and more have to become more business savvy, have to have more and more soft EQ skills, meaning ability to communicate, ability to convince, customer, ability to collaborate internally, and convince people or understand or have empathy. All of those different aspects that relate to how do you manage the business, to take it forward. So there's a, there's a shift in the way that, people need to operate in the hybrid and super jobs. So that's, again, a lot of companies are today investing in how do we take our workforce, how do we take our entire shared services, and look at, how do we educate them about digital technologies, and how do we help them, apply those skills to improving our, collection strategies, improving our, credit scoring, or improving, our credit monitoring or segmentation, and identifying opportunities. How do we deal with these escalations? All of those different things. So taking the domain expertise of your process, of your company, of your business, of your knowledge of your existing customers, taking that knowledge, leveraging digital to taking your company to a whole new level. So that's what I think, is the next generation, and companies are focused on reskilling the workers to figure out, how do we, bring in these two elements together. And interestingly, the whole work is, as you're all seeing, today, we're all working from home, and work from anywhere is going to be the new norm. Location is secondary already. And with this pandemic, we all know that it doesn't matter where you are. And what does that mean? That means that the new generation of, of teams that you will be hiring may or may not be in the same office location, may not be in the, in the same country, may not be, anywhere. They could be anywhere. And even onboarding, recruiting, onboarding, training, all of this is going to happen remotely. And that's going to be the new norm. And interestingly, again, shared services are going through a huge transformation right now. There's a, there's, we are in the middle of these, the hurricane, the cyclone, the tornado, whatever you may call. And there's a lot happening with shared services. There's a lot happening with, outsourcing. Do we still need outsourcing? Do we need automated systems and, ensure, some of the activities? There's a lot of, interesting trends, that are happening. As I mentioned, last week, this large pharmaceutical company, right in the middle of the pandemic, everything happening remotely, they have, shifted an entire outsourcing operations, insourced, established their own, center out in Lisbon, and, again, trained a whole new workforce all remotely, and went live with this new location, all remote, right in the middle of pandemic. And at the same time, deployed this huge, digital, process across 30 different countries, all happening, in remotely, in the digital world, right? So there's a huge transformation happening, and this is where, lot of traditional aspects of outsourcing, offshoring is all changing. Ensuring, insourcing, as well as, it doesn't matter where it is, get the job done is what, is the new emergence of digital businesses. Of course, that means, hey, it could be, somebody like a mom like me, sitting at home and, can still attend to activities. There's a new emergence of what we call as a virtual digital desktop interfaces, VDIs, where they can log in exactly when a person is able to, attend to, let's say, a collections call, or, when a person is able to, look at the activities, and in a very secure environment. This VDIs, intend to keep the information very, very secure. There are some customers, obviously, you do not want to share that particular piece of information of, these public companies. You don't want people printing out or faxing out or, copying or sharing this very important payments information, receivables information, or revenue information out. So these VDIs are actually designed to make sure that even if a person is sitting at home and they're working on a particular job, that, this information, cannot go beyond their desktop that they're seeing. They cannot print, they cannot fax, they cannot email, other than to the customer or to certain people. So there's some new set of things that are coming that actually make the workforce can be anywhere, any place, and, and a whole new emergence. And then, another big factor, what's happening with the workforce, today in most companies, we have almost 3 generations at the workplace, right? And, by 2025, 2030, we'll see more and more, Gen Z, taking a higher percentage of the workforce. And I can't imagine, Gen Z, sitting and doing data entries, or, just creating these Excel spreadsheets, or, punching in numbers, from a check into, into an ERP system or someplace. These Gen Z, will drive or push the digital mindset. They want more and more automated systems. And this is what, again, will drive, huge wave of automation. And predominantly more and more, workforce will go, into being analysts and business drivers. Future of working capital. This is a huge topic. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but this is a huge topic. Payments are, changing. There's a quiet revolution and a huge revolution happening on the payment side of the business. The way, payments are becoming cashless, the way the whole banking, is becoming open banking and, liberating a lot of information. This is, there's a huge, evolution that is happening. There are new technologies like blockchain, that are actually eliminating a whole lot of inefficiencies on all these reconciliations and, intercompany and, inter-country, cross-country, remittances and payments. There's a whole set of things that are happening that are actually pushing, more and more, real-time payments. And this is where working capital cycle, there's a huge opportunity to almost make it a real time, working capital cycle, real time, squeeze that to a, like a, 100%, availability of cash. And this is where the digital platforms will push more and more. Again, this is a huge topic. This is not a 2 minutes or a 3-minute topic. We can have a whole 1-hour webinar around it. But I would absolutely encourage you guys to actually go, check out what's happening on that one. And this will have a huge impact, to the order to cash, side of the business. And again, I'm in the interest of time, I'm just giving a glimpse. Please go check out more research. And then I'd want to leave, with a couple of thoughts. And first and foremost, Are you a digital order to cash leader? What does this mean for you? Do you have the mindset, to do continuous learning, to be open for innovation, to democratize, some of your processes and, give more control, for your teams? A lot of these, I mean, this is a huge topic of discussion. And again, at Emagia, we're doing more and more work to, put, some guidelines, assessments to help, companies move in that particular direction. And, again, there's some resources, right there. We have cited, we have a whole team dedicated to helping, companies, go through that. We'll be happy to talk about that. But this is a huge topic, that most order to cash staff and leaders need to take towards. And I want to leave, a couple of good, books, for folks to read. And I personally found them, very interesting and fascinating. Why Digital Transformations Failed. This is by Tony Saldana, Procter & Gamble, GBS leader, who talked about, what does it mean doing a digital transformation in your shared services, and, and a fascinating, journey of Procter & Gamble on that. AI Advantage by Thomas Davenport. He has done a tremendous body of work on, how AI can be applied to digital processes, and lots of examples around how you can reap the benefits. Technology Fallacy. This is a fascinating book of, again, digital mindset. What does it mean? Why do you need to consider digital? Exponential Organizations, Future of Work. Fascinating books. It's a good read. I'd absolutely encourage, order to cash leaders to go read that books, right? So with that, lastly, those of you who want to maybe just take the first step, or at least, do simple steps of, digitalization. We do have some, free tools that are available, for example, Logbox, remittance captures. If you simply want to load up your Logbox images and get an extract, or, load up your remittance advisors, get an extract, or even, have Gia, our digital assistant, assist on, some of the collections, or even digital credit applications. There's free tools out there. I'd absolutely encourage you to, check them out and, take your first step on the journey. With that, let me just take a pause and, take any questions you may have.
All right, like Veena said, we're going to do the question and answer period. All you have to do is find the chat feature, which should be located at the bottom of your screen. Type in your question and hit send. And Veena, it does look like we did receive a question.
Yes, Beth. So the question is, my company uses a combination of large projects and replacement parts orders where we do not use credit applications. Do you know if digital collections would work, right? So I'm going to take this as two-part question. One is on the credit side and the other is on the collection side. So, first and foremost, as I said, for if you're still doing digital, if you're still doing PDF credit applications, there's a huge opportunity, simply go with the digital credit, applications. I've already cited, great examples and a free tool to even just go experiment and, experience that. Right, so there's huge opportunity and tremendous, savings going to real-time credit applications. Now, digital collections, would that still work? Of course, digital collections is about, looking at the payment patterns and reminding your customers to pay on time and giving them the ability, then and there to pay or dispute or, others. So absolutely, you can look at this as, individual processes and still deploy digital. or you can look at this holistically at, I want to go end to end and change it. So you can absolutely take, specific process. You want to go digital on collections, you can absolutely go irrespective of what happens on credit or what happens on cash application. That's my short answer. I have another question. The example quoted by Veena of a pharma company moving to process to Lisbon during pandemic, was it specific to O2C only, or was it a larger operation including O2C? This particular one, they were moving both their P2P as well as O2C all together. And again, my particular, reference was to the O2C process that got moved, right in the middle of the pandemic last week, into the Lisbon. Hopefully that answers that question. Any other questions? With that, we will wrap it up. Thank you to the audience for spending this hour with me. Hopefully you found it interesting and insightful.
Great. Thank you so much, Veena, and thank you for your participation, everyone. Here again, thank you, everyone, and have a great day.